Thank you so much for meeting with me, John. I really appreciate your time. I know you are booked and busy, so I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
First off, congrats on this miracle of a movie. I
Thank
love it.
you.
I can't
Yay.
believe it's real. It's so special. So congratulations on pulling that off.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's maybe my favorite thing I've heard so far is I can't. It's real.
I saw it at a film festival with a bunch of queer people, and we were all
Yeah.
just like, what is this beautiful thing?
Ah, thank
Um,
you.
I think the thing that makes it so like mind-boggling is the tone. It's such a tightrope walk, I think. Could you talk me through striking that balance? Because I read somewhere that this initially maybe started a bit more on like the satirical, maybe edgier side of things. Can you talk me through balancing that tone?
Yeah, it was a kind of mysterious thing where the movie, the tone dictated itself as I was going on. I think I think that I felt safer kind of deluding myself, convincing myself that it was going to be a more um, outwardly satirical thing and that it would be kind of a commentary about our like kind of internet obsession with food or there was something very kind of dark and strange going on my algorithm.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't know, I thought I was going to make this kind of bratty really cheap handmade movie
Mhm.
with my friends that had a kind of like punk spirit. I don't know. And then as almost immediately as I got into the writing process, I just felt myself pulled into something a little more emotional. I don't know. The movie just wanted to actually I wanted the audience to root for Maddie, and
Yeah.
I didn't want them to feel I didn't want to make fun of her. Um, you know, I've spent a lot of time in my own work making fun of like millennial culture and millennials, and it's all projection. It's just I
Yeah.
hate myself, obviously. Um, and I
Same, same.
yeah, and I think I maybe am maybe a little tired. I'm growing out of that. I'm a little
Yeah.
tired of, doing that. And I wanted to be more forgiving of Maddie and the
Yeah.
kind of the ethos she is a part of and the scene she's in. And obviously there are still some elements of it that are satirical or like kind of representing a certain kind of maybe slightly irritating thing in the culture. But I also I don't know. I just felt suddenly very protective of her as I was writing this, and so and then I also and that was kind of terrifying as it for me, as an actor even. I was like, oh God, this presents a whole different challenge for me on an acting level. This is like I could immediately feel the way I would have to modulate the performance, and I was like, okay, whoa. And it was very scary. I felt very embarrassed by how kind of soft and like tender the tone was becoming. But I also felt like I've had this experience in the past when you strike something that's like embarrassing and terrifying, it usually means that something good is happening. It's not always the case, but in this case, I was like, you should keep going with this. I don't
Yeah. Definitely. You mentioned she is an archetype in a lot of ways. She does embody that. But can you talk to me about building her as an actual character to also transcend that archetype? Because she is so fleshed out, in my opinion. I know you
know.
said you've had the voice already, but like, did she evolve a lot? Did you discover her? Like, talk to me about building her.
It's so strange. Like the way characters come together. I don't know. I mean, the voice was very natural and was already there for me. But that voice always lived. There was like no context for the voice. It was just something I would slip into. And there was something kind of archetypal about certain like things she says, like likely story.
Yeah.
Trust me, Dean, I'm anything but like these kinds of like these angelic kind of self-effacing uh things that felt very 1950s to me,
Hmm.
or even 80s or early 2000s. I don't know. They're kind of timeless. They're archetypal. And then I layered on some contemporary stuff like, she loves chili oil. She, I don't know. She has a lot of the kind of millennial branded kind of Instagram uh uh accoutrement, and she also is like myself and like many people my age. I feel there's this desperate like kind of reaching to the past for any sort of semblance of authenticity. So there's
Hmm.
like lots of like vintagey aesthetics, and she goes to like Asian supermarkets and gets these beautiful canned products that don't feel soulless and corporate. She loves the bright colors of like the branding
Yeah.
of these things. Um, so I don't know. I mean, but the physicality, the voice, all that was just I'm not trying to be woo-woo because this
Please
movie
be woo
made me
woo.
more woo-woo
I love it.
because of how this happened, but it was just there. I don't
Yeah.
know. It was,
No, I get it.
and some of it was practical, some of it was like, oh, it helps feminize me if I like am kind of always breaking up the like fridge shape of my body, like if I can like be on an angle or like
Yeah.
cross my body or and it's like a practical choice like that's purely visual that then unlocks something emotional,
Yeah.
because if you're doing this, you're kind of like making yourself smaller and more like, you know amenable, and
Yeah.
you're hiding like the breasts, for example, or something. They had to be very large to create the smaller waist.
Mm-hmm.
But then once I had them on, I was like, they changed my posture and they made me feel a little insecure and like I was being looked at, and I was just like, God, this is so much of the characterization came from these very practical choices.
Yeah, definitely. Um, there's a moment as soon as they mentioned the dance class in this movie, I knew we were gonna get a dance sequence. I sat upright in my seat. You love a dance sequence, obviously, but
I
I'm curious
know.
how this one kind of differed for you in construction and execution.
Well, it was more, I mean, this movie is so full of so many of these things that I've done kind of impressions of years ago, where I've just kind of gestured to people of like, this is what I like, but it was so nice to finally hang all those impressions on a narrative. Like
Yeah,
everything became so much more alive with narrative justification.
yeah.
And in the case of the dance scenes, I guess the way it differs from previous stuff is what makes it contemporary, which is like the fact that it's a queer dance class at a radically inclusive queer gym. That's copy I lifted directly from the website of a real queer gym.
Love it. Love it.
And so instead of doing, I'm a little bit more classical in my dance influences. I love Fosse. I love, Marguerite Derricks, who choreographed Showgirls. But because of this kind of queer dance class thing, we were layering in more kind of voguey
Mm.
aesthetics.
Yeah.
Um, and Danielle Polanco is the choreographer, who's a total, and this is the first time I've worked with like a real choreographer,
Okay. Yeah.
like a legitimate, like she was fresh off of doing the Addison Rae music videos.
Mm-hmm.
And I took her out to dinner and I was like, I explained it all to her. I never met her. And I was like, this is so cheap. And I was like, I'm but she was like, I like art. That's what she said to me. I was like, she was like, I'm gonna do it because I like art. I was
Oh
like,
my God.
so she flew to LA, and it was so cool. It was so cool of her. And yeah, I guess that's how it's different.
Yeah.
More
No,
vocal,
that
but
no, I love it. I love it. It's so dynamic and exhilarating and narratively, like I loved it.
thank you.
Every time I hear you talk about this, it's obvious you've had a very clear vision from the jump. Could you maybe tell me about maybe a scene or a moment that you saw clearly that you feel like you executed pretty close to what you saw in your head? And On the flip side, is there anything that maybe turned out a little differently when you got to set?
Well, everything turned out differently. I mean,
There we
like
go.
literally everything.
No, that's awesome.
Um, I think the thing that was closest, like, okay, me in the door frame, talking to Claudio Doherty's character Emily at the end of the movie. Um, that to me embodies like when the camera's pulling out at the end, like after Claudia says the thing of, I guess I just need to know you weren't perfect, and like and Maddie's in the door frame with the cookies, and like
Yeah.
the camera's pulling out and the hi-hat's coming in, and she's like looking off to like she's looking down, like really considering what
Yeah.
Emily has said. Like to me, that's exactly the style that I was
Yeah.
imagining. That's
Yeah.
exactly the tone. That's exactly the smallness of the performance. Like that's it. And
Yeah.
and my heart just swells in that moment because I'm like, we did it, we did it. And I would say just about everything else felt like I was kind of constantly hemorrhaging my original vision. But that's just the nature of low budget filmmaking and probably
Absolutely.
all filmmaking. Um, and yet, I mean, I want to be clear. I also was like, the whole time I was like, okay, well, okay, I'll give you a specific moment. That was where it felt like, oh no. Like this is one of the few
Okay.
times I had like what to me looked like a meltdown, but I'm sure to the crew I was just like, because I'm very Maddie. Um,
Okay.
but I when we shot the scene of Maddie at Gourmet in the Gourmet bathroom,
Mhm.
up against the bathroom wall. I wanted to do this big Marnie reference up against the bathroom stall with the shaft of light going across my face, and we were gonna shoot it in with like we had multiple shots and planned out for it, and it just was such an important moment because it's the first time in this whole movie that everyone kind of knows is about an eating disorder where she's like about to do it, and it was so important to me. And then it was the last thing we shot that day. I was basically told if we went over we'd go into overtime, and we were shooting in an active behavioral health center, and we could literally hear people screaming.
Wow.
It was one of the most stressful experiences of my life, and we've had to figure out a way to shoot it all in one take. And we're not in a studio, so we can't knock out a wall to create the actual angle
Yeah.
of Marnie. I just realized very naively, like, oh, we because there is a literal wall that we can't get rid of, we have to now shoot it from up here. And I just thought it looked so ugly, and I thought I was going to burst into tears. I was so miserable. But it's now one of my favorite shots in the movie. It
It's
like has this,
gorgeous.
I love it. And I love that we had to have the girls visible for the Gourmet girls behind me in the sink there in their own little portrait in the back corner. Like I love that. I don't know. I now am totally in love with it, but
It's
in the
great.
moment it felt like a total compromise.
Oh, I bet. I bet. You kind of need the after to like really see.
Yes.
Um, just to kind of wrap it up, with Maddie's videos and her virality, there's this kind of idea about how when we put art out into the world, it becomes other people's for better or for worse, and we kind of have to like let it go. How have you been able to reconcile that with like your own art and maybe even specifically like your journey with Maddie?
It's I learn it every single time I make something, just how much it's like not yours at a certain point. And it always is so moving to me and shocking to me when people have really intense relationships with something you made years ago that you don't even remember. And I think about my, much talked about fandom. I've talked about it, no one else cares. But like the way that I really hold on to certain pieces of art from my past that like the people involved don't even remember. I mean, I've looked at Toni Collette and I've looked her in the eyes and talked to her about Clock Watchers, and she's like,
Incredible.
huh. And Lisa Kudrow, I talked to her about Clock Watchers. She like barely remembers it. It's like I
Yeah.
know every moment of that movie. So it's very beautiful, and I think generous to kind of let go and let people possess it. It's also very scary because there's a sense that you can't control the way that people like receive it, and that's scary. And I'm certainly in that mode right now where it's like it's out there really new and I or really freshly and I I don't know. It's a little terrifying, but I'll get over it. I always do.
Yeah. Well, I love it because I've seen you describe this as like a vehicle for your sincerity, and
Yeah.
I loved that so much because it really shines on screen, and I feel like it like hits like not to be all woo woo. I'll be woo woo with you, I guess,
Please,
but like
please.
I do think it is like very much earnestly calling for more sincerity in a way. I think it's
Yeah.
beautiful like that. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, the other thing I'll say is like I like more specifically, that was a horrible answer what I gave before, but
No,
like
yeah.
I think that Maddie, what I realize like Maddie is someone who like I'm kind of offering up to like to be adored.
Mm,
You know, it's like I that was unusual for me because I normally play very kind of unlikable, psychotic people, and I felt very compelled to make someone kind of unapologetically make a character that you could like love, you know, and like and treasure, and you could get a little locket with a picture of Maddie in it, and you could have your little Maddie diary with a little lock, you know, and
yeah.
like that's I wanted her to be like almost like a YA figure, like a Christie or an Anne of Green Gables, you know,
Yeah.
um, that you're like that's like where people feel protective of her and love her, and you know, so that is the joy of kind of giving it away to people is that can finally happen, you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I could talk to you all day about this movie.
Me too.
I'm such a big fan. I'm so excited to see it at the Music Box. There's no crowd like a Music
Yes.
Box crowd
Oh,
for this.
I'm
So
so excited.
I'm so excited for you to have that. But thank you for taking the time. Thank you for this movie. This was truly an honor. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Adam.